Namaste. So we read a prayer today dated January 30th, 1914. Very often we hear this phrase or this refrain, I know, I know, I'm aware. But what we are aware of is not even a very small fraction. And 99.99% lies submerged, of which we are not aware. It is subconscious. And from where we are pushed. So that's why this remember and offer is a constant process. It's not just about the action, but about the subconscious elements which push us. There are three sources of action, or rather, forces which push from behind. One is the subliminal. Subliminal is the universal mind, universal vital, universal physical. We don't know about it till it enters us and we think it is me. For example, there are universal mind suggestions which are going around, like the recent virus thing. Then, after some time, it enters our own mind. And then we have the suggestion, what if this happens? Actually, it is part of the universal mind, which we have accepted. When we accept, we think it is mine. Or the universal vital, which people utilize very well in advertisement. So you'll see that there is a fashion, there is a craze for something, and it just catches everybody's vital. Then, after a while, that craze is over. There is also the universal physical. So, the subliminal is one source of action. Subliminal is the threshold behind the waking. We become aware only when things enter the waking consciousness. Otherwise, so often we are pushed by impulse to speak, to act, and much later we realize, oh, I wish, but it has already done. So that's why the recommendation that today I think it was there, no, in one of Mother's writings, that it's much better if men could avoid speaking or acting under that immediate impulse, learn to wait a little. Many problems in the world will be solved. So, this is one part. Then, the other source of action, which is very rare, is the superconscious, where we are driven, what is called as a God driven action, where suddenly you are overtaken by, seized by a divine impulse. For instance, Chanakya, seized by divine impulse. He says, I am not going to do my shikha till this entire empire is brought down. He didn't know how. Somebody would say, kya confidence hai? But divine driven action is like that. Or when Draupadi takes a decision in Indian mythology, that till I get Dushasan's blood, I am not going to, in my hairs, and braid it. I am not going to ever braid my hairs. Now imagine what a power in those words. This was a avesh that arose from within. This is a superconscious, or people who are charged with a mission. This I must do. So that is a superconscious source. It carries within itself everything, the finality of the action, the means, the methods, everything. At that point, one doesn't know. But it charges you with a mandate, like Shivaji's life when we see. How can a 12-year-old boy think that he can overthrow an empire? And Shivaji didn't live very long. I think 40s or maybe 50. 50, no? 55. Not a long life at all. 55 is no life for overthrowing an empire. Can you imagine? That time's mightiest empire, he is the one person. If you look at Shivaji's empire, Maratha empire, it's one of the biggest empires in Indian history. And this Vibhuti, he was a Vibhuti, was charged with this mandate that Mughal ka Raj samapt karna hai. I have to finish the Mughal Rajya and establish a Hindu Rashtra. That was his Guru's command. And he lived for that and succeeded. That was a God-driven action, superconscious. But that's not very common. Generally, it works from behind the veil. because there are no instruments to do that. And one can't imagine, again, since we are talking about Shivaji, I mean, with a handful of army, how he did it. He would retreat when there is a need for retreat. He would give away when there is a need for give away. He even went to the prison. Then he would fight. If you want to learn what is the best form of guerrilla warfare ever, it is through Shivaji's. You read about him, then one realizes what really is guerrilla warfare. Then the third source is the subconscient in man. So the subconscient is a repository of all the past atavism. Subconscient is when you go and see a person and you say, Pao Chuna, because he is elder to you, but in your heart you are saying, why this person has come in front of you. Yet you end up doing it. If an elder says something, even if it is wrong, even if it is openly, it contradicts your own truth, yet you accept it because subconsciously it is gone into us. No, you have to do it. There are many, many such actions which are purely subconscious. They may take very nice coloring. For example, death. Mother says, it's gone into the cells, they have to die, they have to die. They are programmed. I mean, not just genetically. Genetic programming can be overridden. But that's how it is. Disease, it's there. The moment you go into it's an epidemic, there are people moving without a mask, I am likely to, get illness. So it's like very powerfully embedded in the subconscious as something which is collective miasm. And it affects us. Even judgments, many of our judgments. See, when we were small children growing up, sometimes when you saw an African, what was told? Generally, Habshi hai. Habshi carried a very, not a good connotation. Negro. Why? Because आदमी को खा जाते हैं. I mean, man-eating tribes are all over world. Somewhere you will find. But first time when I went to Africa, I found some of the most beautiful people are there. And when you go to America, you realize that because of the Africans entering, they brought them as slaves, but actually they are the ones who humanized America. They brought in emotions. All today you see, rap music, all this. They brought emotions. Otherwise, what was the country? Ruthless people who had killed the natives. They were not bothered about. You don't expect finer emotions from, something developing along those lines. But the Africans brought in feelings. Indians brought in soul. So that's how it is about the subconscious terrain. But the suggestion was black is bad. These are all suggestions. Fair is good. All these collective atavism suggestions, subconscious. So when we use the word remember and offer, we have to remember that this, it'll be nice if we just, stay concentrated. Yeah. So I'll just read this. All that is conscious in me belongs to thee without restriction. So all that is conscious, many things we are not conscious. Our mind gives all kinds of suggestions. For example, that famous story I have spoken of in Chaman Lalji, he was invited to go give talk abroad, and he asked the mother. So she said, is it not an ambition? He said, no mother, I don't think so. Again she asked him, are you sure it is not an ambition? Then he wrote to her, to the extent I am conscious, it is not an ambition. And then she said, okay. She was very happy to hear that. And then she said, okay, you go because somebody has to. But she made him conscious. It is not enough. Whatever surface mind says and, gives a impression or justification is very different. Surface mind will invariably give a very good explanation. Invariably about everything. It will either blame somebody or something else, but its own. So that's why in yoga, a long time it takes just to become conscious. So all that is conscious in me belongs to thee without restriction, and I shall strive to conquer little by little, and always better, the subconscient, the bedrock still obscure. So she says a long journey that entering the subconscious and slowly conquering it. That's what is described in the Vedas. That's what Sri Aurobindo speaks about. And it's a long, long journey. If you read the Mother's Agenda, you'll see so many times the same thing she has to do again and over again. Because subconscious is like that. Then the disciple says, how is it possible for us? She said, you have to do only the individual subconscious. I have to do for the whole earth. So all this, that's why you see, because of their action, suddenly after the 60s, the world changed in many ways. Many youngsters today, they cannot connect with the whole past because they cleansed it. It was needed. But still it is there, like a miasm inside. Divine Master of Love, Eternal Teacher, Thou guidest our lives. It is in Thee alone and for Thee alone that we would live. Enlighten our consciousness, guide our steps, and grant that we may do the maximum of what we can do, utilizing all our energies solely to serve Thee. And then, of course, she offers this wonderful prayer. Divine Master of Love, Eternal Teacher, Thou guidest our lives. It is in Thee alone and for Thee alone that we would live. This is the program for us. This yoga is not as simple as doing some processes and techniques. To live for the divine and live in the divine. It's a very, very, very big order. And and not sometime I'll go pray and then, people often ask this question. Oh, I am a devotee, my parents are devotees. But still somebody died, somebody fell sick. Forget about all that. This yoga demands such a dedication where you have to forget everything else. It doesn't matter. Even if the world around you crashes, still for you it is the divine. Then one is marked for this yoga. That doesn't mean difficulties will be over. In fact, you will probably face many more. Because now in earnest you have taken the resolution that I want to do this yoga and the work of the divine. But that is the minimum requirement. That's why Sri Aurobindo says it cannot be done in a spirit of levity. It's okay. So very often people ask, they speak about, devotee. It's a very strange word. Don't go by. They have also visited the ashram. And you see, in fact, I'll give an example. Like when people come, so many small little tests which come in the way. So, where your ego self is challenged. So, somebody comes to the ashram and one has to wait at the gate and you are questioned. Who are you and why are you? Sometimes in a tone which you don't like. So, who comes out? Oh, you don't know me. I'm a devotee for many years. How does it matter? How does it matter? Forget about that person. That person is being foolish. But if you try to prove him that you are a fool, you are being also foolish. The point is, we are here only to live for her. And only her opinion and view matters. Fortunately, she has no opinion. She just does what is needed to be done. But we lost an opportunity when we could have remained quiet and taken it that, okay, ma, this too is a blessing. It's okay. If I am not allowed to go, maybe if I would have gone at 7 o'clock, everybody has to go at 8. If I couldn't go at 7, at least I will think of you for the next 1 hour. But had I gone like many others at 7, looked around, sat for 10-15 minutes and come out. At the end, that's all will count, nothing else. Whether one goes, people ask, where is this yoga best done? Anywhere if there is sincerity. If there is no sincerity, it cannot be done anywhere. You can be right next to the divine and yet. These are Mother and Sri Aurobindo's words. These are eternal truths of yoga. Yoga has nothing to do with 3 generations connection and how many years I've been coming, staying, nothing. And these are not new truths. I mean, these are as old as the Vedas. This is some which is a standalone. Yes, there is something special about being here. That's a different part of the story altogether. But this is where we have to become conscious. So she is saying, it is in thee alone and for thee alone that we would live. Enlighten our consciousness, guide our steps, and grant that we may do the maximum of what we can do, utilizing all our energies solely to serve thee. Not even to ask benefits, calculations, bargain. I am your servant, why did I fall sick? What about if the divine wants you to take some rest? There is the story of Bhaiji, na? That he used to be like, I have to do mother's work. So there is a famous story when he would ask the travel agent, I want a ticket to Kolkata. Sir, there is no ticket tomorrow for Kolkata. Okay, try for Delhi. Delhi. Nahi sir, nahi hai. Okay, try for Bombay. Sir, where do you want to go? He says, doesn't matter. I have to do our work. All these places I can do. So once he had very high fever. And he was pinned down in the room. Mother came to see him. And mother sat on the cot where he used to be. And after that, he never used the cot. He would put a mat on the floor and sleep. And then he was, he asked mother, I wanted to go for your work. Why did you stop me? She knew it cannot happen without her. And she said, I had no choice. I wanted you not to go, but you will not listen because for you, work, work, work. This was the only way that I could stop you. To that extent. So those who have gone ahead, and they all faced difficulties, you see. I mean, Bhaiji had problems when he went outside, eventually left his body outside. Champaklalji left his body outside, had hemiparesis. All this human mind, they are servants of the Lord, so the Lord is obliged to take. Lord is not limited to few years of a particular life. He is seeing way, way, way ahead. What cosmic issues they take upon themselves. The way we think, the Lord doesn't think like that. In fact, He doesn't think. He sees and acts. So we think, okay, one to one, God's reasons should be rational being. Okay, He's my servant. He does give a special protection. But don't try to judge anything by the mental standards. Just ask only one thing, how I can serve you better, serve you better, serve you better. And when we serve the divine better, even illness and death become a means of serving Him. That is something we don't understand. Even death becomes a service to the Lord. And He thinks we are so much His own that He says, okay, I can, all my challenging things, I can pass it on to you and I'll hold you. That the devotee knows. Look at some of his loved ones. Then you look at Sharmat's life. Can you imagine? Guru Tegh Bahadur. They all loved the Lord. Sri Aurobindo doesn't have money for the next. Imagine if he grumbled, Kya Bhagwan, at your Adesh I have come. You don't even provide me with a proper food. Imagine if he ever thought like that. You have separated me from my wife. I have no family life. He didn't say all that. That is the complete trust and dependence on the Lord. Use me the way you want to use me. Okay, so with this we can stop. Grant that we may do the maximum of what we can do, utilizing all our energies solely to serve Thee. Namaste.